Welcome back, Bikeaholics. Ryan Erlock here, lawabidingbiker.com. Always thank you. That's right, you, for checking back in. In today's video, I'm going to show you step by step exactly how to install a Trail Tech radiator fan on the 2024 Husky TE300 you see behind me. It's going to work for KTM or Gas, and even previous years from 24. I know for a fact the 23 and newer, you'll need the Trail Tech fan. Now they partnered with KTM and you got to get it through a dealership. You're also going to need the wiring harness, so make sure you grab that. You'll get that at a dealership too. And that's because this fan connects directly to the battery and that harness has an inline fuse. All right, enough talk. Let's get wrenching. First thing, Torx T27, one bolt at the front of the seat. Get that removed. We can get our seat out of the way. So we're gonna have to remove the fuel tank, main fuel line we're gonna need to remove. Yours may be a single ear type hose clamp. I switched mine to a worm clamp. With that backed out, you may spill just a little bit of fuel, so you can just have a rag handy there. All right, if you don't want to disconnect the fuel tank up top, you can come down along the left side here, and there is a quick disconnect right down here, and the line runs up. It's just a push on this guy here, and you can pull like so, and that will disconnect it. It will leak a little bit like that, and then this line will pull up when you remove the whole tank system. You've also got electronics going to the fuel tank. That's just a pull up type, and you can pop that out. So there's two bolts up front here on each side to remove your plastics. Torx T27. And we'll remove the fuel vent line there. And we've got one more Torx T27 right up in here in the center of the fuel tank. And once you get that loose, you can leave that guy right inside there. And we'll just clear the front plastics there, kind of the radiator, and we should be able to get this guy and this tank and plastics out of our way. Now I'm going to remove my skid plate because we're going to have to drain the coolant, and my drain screw is kind of blocked. However, yours comes off. They're all different. I will tell you, there's no better way to work on a motorcycle than on a proper lift. And we've been using this one for many years on the channel. It's up and down thousands of times for, jobs we're doing and different film shots. Anyways, they're available right in the Law Abiding Biker store. It's our beloved Titan lift. I'll link to it in the description below. We'd love to get one coming your way. All right, get that out of the way there. Before we remove the coolant drain screw, grab yourself a pan or whatever so you don't make a mess. Also, this is brand new coolant in there, and I'm going to actually reuse it. Once you do that, you're looking for this guy right here. That is your drain screw, and you'll note above it there's a little arrow actually pointing down to it, and that is a Torx T27. You'll see it immediately starts leaking there. Obviously, you want the bike to be very cool when you're doing this. And by the way, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell icon every time those are hit. Another biker joins the revolution. We'd love to have you be part of it. And there we go. And from there, I'm going to take my radiator cap off. I already got up there. They're kind of a bear. It's push down and a quarter turn counterclockwise. So I already got it started. Once you do that, you can see it's going to come out at a good rate here. And just to mention, you can rock the bike. I did kind of to the side. And it's pretty dried up now, but I did get extra out of there. All right, so I put a street legal kit on this, so I do have to just remove this horn real quick. That was just so I could dual title it. So we're only gonna deal with the right side radiator. There's one on the left, there's a tube in between. But you got two Torx 27 right here, one bottom, one top, so we can get these louvers removed. And moving up to the top one here, that top one removed, we'll be able to remove this plastic louvers. They've got little tabs up here. You kind of just gotta work it out there. You've also got tabs on the inside too, so just kind of reach around and pop those. Of course, I've got my horn wires there, and that louver's out of the way. Now we're just going to remove the top hose from the right radiator here. This is just a 1/4 inch nut driver, if you're wondering, on this worm clamp. And that should allow us to pop the top there. Coming around the back side here, another worm clamp here on the bottom hose, or one of the bottom hoses, I should say. Sometimes these hoses kind of get baked on there. Just be careful not to cut your hose, but you can kind of just work it under the collar there. There, that looks like it broke it free for me. All right, so there is one more hose on the very bottom of this guy with a worm clamp. You could certainly take it off, but it's super easy to work with right here because it's such a simple project. Here's your Trail Tech fan, of course. It really can only go one way. Obviously, this has got to be right side up facing, so these line up perfectly. On this side, you'll see there's two nubs right there, plastic nubs. That's where those two go. And you can kind of feel them just kind of hang on there. As I turn this around, we'll work this guy over the side, and you'll see there's actually 2 holes that we can line this bracket up with, and then that's going to sit back up in there like that. Just want to make sure before we bolt it down that we've got access to our wiring harness and thermal sensor. So we're going to work this bracket into place here, lining the holes up here. Your kit comes with 4 of these little guys, these screws. Kind of finicky to get started because they tap right into the aluminum here. I found a 7/64 hex head wrench is what fits this best. Once you get them started, it threads pretty easy into the side of the radiator. Before I tighten that one down, go ahead and line the back one up, and I'll get this one finger started here. And they're definitely a little bit finicky, but just work it with your fingers till it catches. Then you can bring your T-handle in and thread it in here. I'm not quite going to tighten these down yet because we want to flip this guy over and make sure we can line these 2 holes up. And same concept, we're just going to finger start it here. And then we'll come in with our hex head wrench. And last one. And honestly, this is probably the hardest part of this project, is getting these little guys started. You might say a few expletives while doing this. Hey, that one went pretty good. 4th time's a charm. I'll go ahead and snug these 2 guys down and then flip it over and snug the other 2 down now that everything's started and lined up. I don't think you need to do much on these. All right, your kit comes with this packet in it. This is a thermal compound, and pretty simple, but we'll just spread it on the thermal sensor here, and we'll put this thermal compound on top and bottom of this sensor. From here, it's pretty simple. This fits right in between one of the fins. They want you to kind of put it up towards the top left here, so we'll just pick one there, and then we'll work it down in there. It doesn't have to go all the way in, as long as it's in there good, but I'm just going to use a little rubber mallet. I got it in there a decent way. That should be good. All right, I'm going to just manage this wire. It's kind of up to you, but I certainly don't want it getting caught up in the fan blades or anything like that. So this bracket right here seems like a good place that I can go ahead and zip tie this on here. And I'll go ahead and do the same on the bottom bracket here with this wire. There we go. We shouldn't have any issues with that now. All right, we can go ahead and rock this back into place now. I'll be aware of my main wire that we're going to connect to the harness in a moment. Of course, my horn wire is out of the way there. Just kind of manage everything. And I'm going to go back in first with the bottom hose there. And I'll lightly snug my worm clamp down here. And of course, we'll move back up top and secure that back in the hose and tighten our worm clamp down. Next is our wiring harness that we got in addition to the fan. It is a plug and play type plug. We'll plug that in a minute, but first I need to route this, and of course, positive, negative. My battery on this bike sits right here, and I've just got to try to neatly route it. I'll probably remove this or at least pull this, and then I can make sure that I work this up through the frame, you know, being aware of any pinch points. And I'll zip tie it and kind of make it look neat here. And kind of up here seems like a reasonable place. They've got this stock rubber strap, so we can probably at least get it up and around there and then use that strap again. It looks like it keeps it pretty tight down in here, so it won't be rubbing on anything. And then I can kind of come up, just follow some of the other wires. These 2 guys go to the fuel tank, so I know I can come up underneath the frame and right up under here somewhere where some other wires, it's going to be safe there. I am going to have a little bit extra to contend with here. And it gets tight up here, obviously, so I can either put the extra, try to stuff it down in here somewhere. You've got a nice void here, and you've already got kind of this wire organized, so I think we'll work the extra back up in here, and then I can kind of hide it, and also I can zip tie it to these stock cables here. From here, it's just a Torx T27 here. I'll remove my negative first, and I'll remove my positive side. Then I'll stick my positive fan terminal on there, snug that guy down, and we'll move around and get our negative fan terminal on there. And if you still want your positive terminal boot to work here, we can kind of just make a slit in it here with a razor blade. Once we do that, we can tear it apart a little bit, and then it will fit around the new fan wire and still fit up over the positive terminal there. I'm actually going to take a little bit of that boot off. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Everything's sitting down in here nice, the inline fuse, we're all hooked up. I am going to use this right up here for my excess. And just so it doesn't rattle loose and start dangling, I am going to take a zip tie and go ahead and at least one here, just for good measure. Don't need to tighten it much there. Nice and neat. There we go, that should be all I need. All right, gonna go back on with our coolant drain plug bolt. I have put a new copper crush washer on there. It is a Torx T27. I'll just snug it just a bit there. Then I'm going to come in with my handy torque wrench. 5.9 foot-pounds is all that guy is. And by the way, been using these wrenches for years. They're very reasonable. They are calibrated when you get them. A larger one, a smaller one, inch-pounds, foot-pounds. They're digital and super easy to set. They give a visual and an audible signal when you get your torque value. You'll see here 5.9. You see it there. There we go. And again, affordable, and use the heck out of them. I'll link to them in the description below. So it's pretty tight down in here. I was having a little bit of trouble getting my fuel tank to sit down in there. So I tucked my fuse block instead of down there. I just kind of tucked it up here out of the way. So from here, simple, put the bike back together. Make sure you top the radiator off with the proper antifreeze. Make sure you can see it down in there. And then this little guy here is programmable. You can just push in on the little blue button, and it's going to give you different options. You can just do Fahrenheit or Celsius. Once you pick the one you want, just let it keep flashing. It will time out and then go to the next mode. Now you can see I can push it, and I can literally kind of adjust it to where I want it, what temperature you want the fan to actually kick on at. And I'm going to run mine down here, and I'm going to start. I'm going to be riding tomorrow some good single track. I'll let it kick on at 185. If you just let it blink, it will take effect there.